Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, welcome to the August meeting of the East Lampeter Sewer Authority. I guess we'll identify each one here. We have the solicitor Matt Kring, Vinny Patel, Fred Clark, myself, Rick Robinson, Mike Stump, Brent Stossus, Karen Hitchen, Matt Sitchy, and Charlie Thomas. And I invite you to join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've had the minutes for the July meeting for a few weeks now. If there's no additions or corrections, they're going to stand approved as written. Okay, treasurer's report.
Rick, I have an account balance as of the end of July of $12,241.14.
Any bills?
I do have a few bills. Check number 493 in the amount of $1,677 to Nicholas and Hohenadel. How was that, Matt, since you're here?
Yep, spot on.
I got it. Thank you.
Yep.
And then we have checks to the members present today. Checks numbers 494 through 498 in the amounts of $25 each for a grand total of $1,802.
Requisitions.
No requisitions for this meeting.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Any stormwater bills?
Rick, I have numerous stormwater bills that total the amount of $25,248.21.
Looking for a motion to pay the bills for the stormwater authority. We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Old business under sanitary sewer, Stauffer Run upgrade.
We've been working on the structural designs I reported last month, and this past month, township staff reached out to us after reviewing the drawings and asked us to make a revision to the electrical equipment layout to look and see if a motor control center would work for the pump station in an effort to reduce the equipment layout length on the wall space. So it preserves some of the room that they have in the pump station for storage of materials that's needed and maintenance there on the pumps. So we worked with the pump supplier, Gorman Rupp, that we're designing around to see if that's something they could prepare. And it is, we found it is successful, or it is an option. So we are moving forward and revising the electrical design to incorporate that motor control center. I've told our electrical engineer, structural engineer, basically to have their design wrapped up so that we're ready for going out for bid there at your September meeting. So looking at that, it'd be about a 30-day bid period process. So the intentions would be come October, we have some bid numbers here available for you.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else with Stauffer Run? Nope. Okay, stormwater, old business, Greenfield Road easement agreement.
Part of that report's going to be the project for the stormwater up along Amtrak is going out to bid this Sunday and Thursday, the 15th and 19th. We'll be opening up bids on the 16th of September to award at the Board of Supervisors on their meeting on the 20th, since there is only one meeting in September. The check for 160 Greenfield Road, where we had the taking, has been cut. Mr. Cream, you got any update that was delivered?
I don't, other than that. Yeah, I've been away and somebody else has been handling it. I apologize.
Mr. Brown or something like
Right, yeah,
Mr. Brown
yeah.
supposedly received a check and was supposed to hand deliver that check to 160 Greenfield Road. As of today, it hasn't been cashed, but we're waiting on that.
I'll try to get an update while we're still in the meeting.
The owner is still receptive, I mean, to
The other owners?
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're ready for it to happen. We've had probably 2 flooding events in the past couple of weeks, and they're ready to see this project get underway and hopefully solve not 100%, but most of this problem that's happening down there.
Okay. Any other old business of any sort? Let's move to new business. Under the sanitary sewer, the treehouse discussion.
So, members of the board, where we left off with you, we were working with Treehouse on a consent agreement for the complete and permanent remediation of the affected sewer lines, while Treehouse was working with both us and the city on a plan to deal with a permanent fix to the cause of the damage to the authorities' sewer lines and the chemical issues in the city's treatment plant. As much as we can understand the situation, and as we've explained it in the past, Treehouse has been discharging into the authorities' sewer lines. Solids have been settling out, and by the time the sewage gets to the city plant, it's mostly liquid. So it was the chemical issues that the city noticed, and then we in our look at the sewer lines before the roadway project was done, found the blockages from the solids. That discussion took a turn when continued back and forth, particularly with the city, led Treehouse to a proposed fix to the discharge issues that is going to have a longer timeline than they expected. And I don't know that at this point, we know a great deal about what they're proposing, but staff has told me that Treehouse has contacted them about a structural or equipment placement on the site. So the direction that the discussion turned was we should look at an interim cleaning of the lines while they continue to discharge a sewage flow that is potentially harmful, and then a permanent cleaning of the lines once they've implemented their fix and we're satisfied that the fix is working. Now, the place we were in the discussion of the consent agreement is relevant to the interim agreement as well. We were most of the way there with an agreement, but we still had significant disagreement with them. And the two most significant disagreements were, let's call it, how clean is clean? And what if the mandrel, being the solution that we or the method that we both agree on, is unable to pass through a portion of the line because the line is deflected or something like that? We, of course, were insisting that the line is deflected or not, it was still flowing sewer, and it isn't flowing, or sewage, and it isn't flowing sewage because of what you did. If you can't get a mandrel through it, you're going to have to replace the line. And they've been agreeable on most things, but that's something on which they have pushed back significantly. One of the things that this interim agreement and this interim cleaning can do is that we can learn more about both of those issues. We can learn if there are deflections in the line, potentially. We can learn how we can work the mandrel passing through the line, perhaps, as Matt has suggested, repeated passages until we get to a degree of smoothness that is satisfactory. And then potentially eliminate those two remaining significant issues of discussion in the permanent consent agreement. But the most significant thing that the interim agreement would address is the potential for a serious problem in the lines while we're still trying to work out a permanent solution to the cause of the damage. As long as they're continuing to discharge, the potential is there. So we have a draft agreement. We've given you copies. Tara and Charlie and I discussed it about a week ago, and Tara provided some edits, which I've reviewed, and provided my own comments and edits. I think other than some tinkering on the language, we have a basic agreement on the technical side and the legal side, that this is an interim agreement. They wanted to call it a standstill agreement, which is kind of an old-fashioned thing. Interim agreement is much more descriptive and more easily understood, making it clear that that's what this is. They're going to go in, they're going to do an interim cleaning, they're going to deal with what they encounter. We're going to participate in inspections, et cetera, while we're working towards the permanent solution, understanding that the permanent solution can't really be considered permanent until they get the discharge fixed. Does that explain it, Tara?
I believe so, yes.
Is there, I mean, I guess maybe I'm a little dumb about this, but
what's their concern? I mean, can you camera this to see that, you know, where the lines are clogged, you know, or
We tried to camera it about a year ago and we couldn't get our camera through. So that's why we're saying, get in there, get it cleaned the best you can. Let's get it cameraed, see if you can actually get a camera through it.
I mean, do you know, is it that hard in there?
Oh, yeah.
That it just,
Township staff had to purchase a special cutting tool that they used on the flusher truck to try to remove the debris. And, you know, where I believe to do a small section of pipe, which was a manhole run or two,
Yeah.
it took in essence of was it a week.
A week and a half to 2
Yeah.
weeks took us to get 2 runs done in order to get a camera through it.
Normally you could clean a manhole run in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I
half-hour
think,
tops.
I think it was Larry who described some of the blockage that they observed as between 2 and 10 on the clock dial.
but I mean, we have this information. I mean, why would they be fighting it that they don't want to agree to take care of it?
So no, I wouldn't say that they don't want to agree to take care of it. On the one issue, the degree of smoothness, we have to admit, we have some difficulty in quantifying
Mhm.
that. On the deflection and on the potential deflection in the lines, we've been firm. You take the lines the way you found them before you buggered them up. Yeah, and again, as Matt's been great in educating me on what a mandrel is and how a mandrel works, that you could pull a mandrel through the line and still leave some
Residue there.
projections because it's not a solid instrument. And, you know, one thing to do is to continue to pull it through and, you know, perhaps it rotates, et cetera. The smoothness is going to be a subjective decision on the part of staff on, you know, whether they think that what's left, because we're talking about a 90%, right?
95.
95% mandrel, there's still going to be some residue on the inside of the lines. And will that cause any hangups with cloth and paper particularly?
And is certain spots, obviously, I mean, is it like bends in the pipe or?
So the pipe is straight from manhole to manhole, and then at manholes where there are bends located. But in essence, it's a buildup of flour that occurred, and it's just layers of flour that have stacked upon it. Asbestos cement and clay, but primarily asbestos. Bell and spigot. Right. So where we said there's bellies, and if there's something where a mandrel gets stuck because of a belly, they can pull the mandrel from the other side, and if they make it back to that point where that belly is, that pipe is good from that standpoint. If they say, hey, we've got a belly at this spot, we try to get the other side, there's a belly here, then, you know, we have to take a look at that and investigate it using the camera to say, all right, is it really an issue of a result of a belly in the pipe, or is it a result of there is debris that's still built up and encrusted in the pipe interior that's preventing the mandrel from moving forward and proceeding?
So I don't want you to get the idea that they're being difficult to deal with. They've admitted they're the cause. They've agreed it's their responsibility. The issue of smoothness and whether there's deflection in the line aside, the real issue that brings us to this interim agreement is that they're going to continue to discharge for another 18, 24 months. So neither of us can expect a quote unquote final cleaning and then a period of monitoring until we get to the end of 18, 24 months and they've implemented whatever they're implementing to address the nature of the discharge.
And my concern, I think I brought up the last meeting, was a blockage, and we have an overflow, especially down near Mill Creek. You got DEP all involved. My concern is get the flushing company in there, start getting this line open and keep opening it until they get this new building / treatment done. And then they can go in and do their main cleaning to make sure we get our smoothest that we're back and forth with.
And we're agreed on how long they're going to need to monitor, camera the lines, and accept continued responsibility until we can get to a point where we believe everything is clean and everything is working.
I would say we didn't necessarily have the issue with the deflection in the pipe. When this first came up, this was something that they came back to us with, and they said, well, if there's a deflection in the pipe, that would also stop the mandrel. That's not necessarily an issue or a cause of buildup on the interior of the pipe, which is true. That's where we said, all right, there's some other ways that we can, if that occurs, there's some other ways that we can look at. Is the mandrel being stopped a result of true deflection in the pipe, or is it a result of buildup in the pipe material itself? Through use of CCTV cameras from pulling the mandrel back the other direction.
So their plan is they're going to try to take this flour from even getting into the system altogether. Is that?
That's
obviously the
their
plan?
ultimate goal, which is going to take 18, 24 months.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. On that, they have been working on I'm going to call it a chemical as well as a mechanical fix. And that hasn't been easy, apparently, if they're going to continue to discharge. Tanking it, pumping and hauling it is the ultimate solution, but I think everybody is willing to try to avoid that.
And they're working with the city on those regulations, since they do regulate our discharge on that.
Because the city, as you would know, the city would be in violation if their tests are thrown off by the chemical makeup of the solution. That's not our issue. Our issue is whatever gets deposited along the way. So before you today is, are you agreeable to us concluding an agreement on an interim basis, understanding that we're going to continue to work on a permanent agreement, and recognizing that what we're interested in is compliance? And it's not that they've been difficult to work with, it's that the issues have been difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't see a downside to it. Yeah, I agree.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine why we wouldn't.
And
You're supposed to put your mic on.
And we will learn more than we know right now.
Matt, I have a couple questions on the agreement, just to make sure. Paragraph 2, the last sentence, it talks about an 18-month time period. And then in paragraph 4, it says right now 42 months, I believe. Is how I read it. I'm not sure if that 42 should be 24, or if that also needs to be 18
Oh,
months.
no, the 4 is, there's a line through the 4. They proposed 4, we substituted 2.
Oh, okay.
And then in In paragraph 2, tell me again.
Paragraph 2, it's the last sentence. And says Treehouse shall conduct a camera within
yeah.
the next 18 months.
Um,
So they're saying it's an 18-month time period that this agreement is for.
And I think that 18 months is the forecast on when they think they can implement their solution to the quality of the discharge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then paragraph 6 talks about backups, the first sentence, if there are any backups or failures of the specified sewer lines caused by Treehouse, Treehouse should be responsible for the cost of responding to such backup or failure. So is that saying if Treehouse discharges something that causes a backup or failure, they're responsible for it? But if there's something that we don't know where it comes from, Treehouse or whatever, there's just a blockage in the line because they failed to clean it
That's a
because
good
of the
point.
buildup, they're not responsible. I just wanna make-
Let me,
I don't think we want that language. We want that revised. So that if there's
Yeah,
a
let me,
blockage in a section of line, that
let me wordsmith that. Yep. It's, Treehouse has caused a problem with their discharge. And we've been able to trace that to them. If somebody else causes a problem with a discharge and we are able to trace that to them, that's one situation, one alternative. But the alternative that you brought up is because of Treehouse's discharge damaging the lines, if there is a backup in the normal flow, not another discharge, that's their responsibility.
yeah, I mean, if it's just the accumulation because there's protrusions and
Right. Let me wordsmith that.
solids
Yeah.
build up over time, it just.
Right.
they build on
And,
top of
and
each
I
other.
believe what they were getting at is if there's somebody else like them out there.
I don't think there's any other businesses on that line.
Correct. So it's
gonna be their-
unlikely
their
that we're going to
responsibility.
encounter that, but it's possible we're going to encounter what Matt fears, which is a backup, which is attributable to them and the condition of the line because of them. Anything else?
So we're basically looking for a motion to agree to the interim maintenance agreement with the revision of chapter or
Right,
line
with,
6 here and
With us concluding a final draft among staff and consultants,
but we can approve of this basic.
the concept. Yep.
So we're looking for a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we approve the basic concept of the interim maintenance agreement.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, members of the board. And I have an answer for you on the Greenfield agreement. We're just waiting for their certification of their title that there are no lien holders that would be entitled to any portion of the just compensation.
Okay. Borrowing discussion.
We brought this up at the last meeting, which prior to the meeting, one day, we got an updated list of city projects and Matt was going to work on updating the numbers that the city produces to see where we stand on borrowing issues or needs for more monies. And were those numbers updated, Matt?
I think, sorry, I think I may have, don't believe I captured all of them. Let me see. No, I think I have a couple more to update in there. So I'm sorry, let me do that for next month's meeting.
I will put that on next month's agenda.
Yeah, it looks like it could be months away before we would need any months and months,
It's not an urgent.
right?
No, we just wanted to start the discussion because of some of the projects they were moving around with design. So we thought it'd be wise to at least start discussion on borrowing.
The city is starting their evaluation and looking at upgrades to the treatment plants. As part of that, it was previously mentioned, they're looking at partners flows over the next 20 years and projections. And there was a meeting that was held to say, well, what are you going to use this information for? Because each partner has capacity within the plant. That's your allocated capacity. And the city's looking to say, well, you use Lampeter, for example, if you have 4.79 million gallons of capacity, but maybe over the next 20 years, you only need 4.5. Do we design for the 4.5 or 4.79 for additional nutrient loading? Or are you saying, hey, no, we may need 5 million gallons of capacity? So they're going through that information right now. But they did note as well that they're also looking at this from a long-term control plan purposes as well, to try to maximize the flow they can send to the plant for their benefit as well. So we'll see how that continues to be, see the information that continues to drive through their evaluation process, and keep you updated on it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Liberty Pumps.
I could start off there, Matt, if you want. If you remember a few years ago in our spec book, we spec'd out Liberty pumps and ABS pumps, try to keep it fair through manufacturers. Well, the one distributor, it's hard to, I don't know if we can find any more anymore that deal with ABS pumps. Somebody tried to slide another pump into a project here in the township that we have no parts for. ABS pumps, we can't even get the parts anymore. I think the big discussion a few years ago is we have to keep that open to two distributors or two different types of pump manufacturers. Liberty Pumps is what we mainly went through. We've had I don't want to say no issues, minor issues with these pumps. What we're looking for is permission to solely go to Liberty Pumps straight across the township. There are at least 4 distributors in the area that deal with strictly Liberty Pumps at this point. We have no spare pumps with ABS on the shelf anymore. I think it was the board's decision last time we wanted to change it is to keep it to 2 manufacturers. Pretty much hit it.
Yeah, some history. ABS pumps were the original pumps for the low pressure system. Then a number of years ago, because of the cost of ABS started to rise, there were some other people said, hey, what about us? And the township staff evaluated a number of other pump manufacturers, and they said, okay, they liked the Liberty package of what they offered. And I believe at that time, there was only one local distributor of Liberty pumps. ABS, their rep was Cappy Associates. It was a supplier for Liberty. Recently, we learned, I guess, when this situation happened, that Cappy no longer carries ABS as a line anymore. And I guess Larry looked out and said, well, how many distributors are there now for Liberty that homeowners, developers can go, if they need a grinder pump, go shop from? And, that list is expanded from what it used to be. So Larry had indicated, he said, it's not just the sewer staff that are on call, it's other township staff. So if there's an issue, having to maintain a pump after hours, having at least a standardized unit helps with the staff to know what they're looking at instead of different manufacturers out there. So that was one of the other items for his recommendation of why he'd like to standardize around one pump. So it's consistent. So it's consistent that the staff knows what they're looking at when there is an issue that they have to troubleshoot.
Yeah, we go on a rotating basis for on-call. So you may have a road guy going out to do a sewer call in the middle of the night. Well, if he runs into a pump and he has no training on that one, we cross-train on all our repairs and everything like that. It used to be just Thomas Somerville dealt with Liberty Pumps, but now you have Aquaflow, LB Water Service, Slaymaker Electric. Everybody's starting to deal with these Liberty Pumps. What we're looking to see is permission to strictly go one pump straight across the board that we can change in our spec book. That way we're not stockpiling like a warehouse, different parts, and trying to figure out what pumps inside a tank to repair, especially in the middle of the winter or something.
What, ABS going out of business or?
They were bought out, and the manufacturer that bought them out pushed ABS out of their system. Is that correct?
ABS still exists. My understanding is their representative, which was Cappy Associates, they brought in a new primary pump supplier in Fairbanks Morse. And as a result, as part of that, they had to give up the ABS line. So I think, I'm not sure who ABS, if they even have a local distributor anymore. I know prior to Cappy, it was a company out in New Jersey. That was the distributor.
Can't imagine that many pumps out there. It's somebody don't carry parts, so, I mean, you know, or parts aren't available or whatever you want to, however you want to.
I think, there are parts available. I think they were just looking for standardized. I don't know if you know the answer to this, Charlie, but since there have been a choice between ABS and Liberty pumps, and I know there's been a lot of new connections with the systems that require grinder pumps. Are you aware of any property owners purchasing an ABS unit?
I would say 95% of the people are going with Liberty Pumps because of the maintenance issue or less maintenance. The ABS, our problem is we're running out of storage room and we don't have the room to store all these parts, enough pickup trucks to carry all these parts. If you don't know what that resident pump is, you take one of the trucks that had strictly Liberty stuff on it, then you got to come back. You got to get the other truck that has ABS pump parts on it. It's becoming a stockpile.
I think what this brought this all up some time ago was Brad Kaiser came in about the Liberty pump and these other pumps. And there was a price discrepancy that was pretty large between the two. And he was saying, why don't you allow a secondary pump? I think that's what brought this up sometime. Am I right in remembering
I think
that way?
that's right. Yeah.
That's right.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
The only thing I'll say is the constraints are on the supply chain today. You got pretty much got to get whatever you can get wherever you can get.
Right now with all these distributors with Liberty, I mean, we've got them in stock.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but if you have an ABS pump and all it takes is a couple $100 part to fix it, as opposed to putting a new pump in at $3,000. You know, I mean, I realize the township replaces residentials, but I mean, it's still quite a big difference there, at least in my opinion, if it's, you know, I guess if there's no parts available, I mean, we don't have much choice here, do we?
I could check to see the availability of
I
ABS
just-
stuff.
my other thing is, I hate to just say it's this way forever because there are going to be things change.
Yeah, I think as, if a pump can be repaired and, I think the staff would repair that. If it's an existing pump, it's in the system that can be repaired, I think the staff would try to repair that pump. My understanding is that there is some interchangeability if it's an existing ABS pump that's in the ground. And that pump can no longer be repaired and needs to be replaced. My understanding is staff has been procuring a Liberty pump to replace it with. What the spec book, the change of the spec book would be is if there is a new house that wants to connect to the system or a new residential development where the township is responsible for maintenance, it would just require that individual to purchase a Liberty pump package from one of the suppliers that meets East Lampeter's requirements. That's really where this is applying. It would be for new connections to the system that come in.
Yeah, because we just had the resident or plumber tried to put a system in. He couldn't get ABS. Liberty wasn't available. Well, there's one in stock at Thomas Somerville. He reached out to the Cappy Associates where he wanted to get the ABS. Well, they sent him a tank. It was about 1.5 feet round and half the horsepower that was needed, and he was going to try to put it in. And he said ABS wasn't available. They were like 8 to 12 weeks out. Liberties were available on the shelf, but I don't know if he turned around and got the Liberty for the new construction. So Matt brings up a good point. Can we change it to all new construction? I mean,
This just applies to basically residential, because any commercial entities out there, they're responsible for their own maintenance, and they're on the grinder pump. So
and they're usually
the township
duplex.
doesn't, they don't impose that same restriction on them. So if they want to use an XYZ pump for their commercial development, because that's what they can get their hands on or something available, it makes better sense for them. As long as it functions hydraulically and doesn't overload the system, that's where, those have been accepted.
I don't have a problem with, what do you want us to do? Agree to that you?
Standard
start
for new
stocking
construction?
Liberty, yep, that's fine. Do we need a motion to do that?
I just feel we need to guard against it. There are separate places that, a Brad Kaiser,
Yeah.
even he's still plumbing.
At that time, there was only one place to buy them.
Right.
And there wasn't, Liberty had no other distribution.
They had Thomas Somerville at that point. Yep. So you were singling out a distributor and a manufacturer. Now, Larry did give me at least 4 distributors at this point. He said he knows there's at least 7 out there, so they can reach out. And all they got to do is say, I need an East Lampeter Township package that gets you your tank, your panel, and your pump. They know exactly what it is. It has its own serial number. There's no holdup.
Well, we need a motion to approve the township to, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. What do we?
Changing the spec book for all new construction, strictly Liberty pump. The township.
I don't know if that requires a motion or if it's just the direction of the board and we proceed that way.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to allow the township to require Liberty pumps to be the
New construction.
I'll make a motion that Liberty Pumps is new construction with the caveat that there are multiple suppliers that they builder plumber can get them from.
That's for residential right there.
Residential.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any other new business under the sanitary sewer? New business under stormwater.
I did give you guys a list of the MS4 update from our stormwater coordinator, Charlie Hayes. Basically, he may be producing these once a month just to show everybody where we're at with projects, where we're at with our permit, the permit cycle, and making sure we're meeting all of DEP's regulations. Terry, you have anything above and beyond that? So what I can do is I'll make sure I have this prior to the meeting. I get it emailed out. That way, if you review and have any questions, you'll have time to email me back. And I can get some answers from Mr. Hayes. We can go from there, but it's just to keep everybody updated.
Any other stormwater issues? Any other business? Public comment? Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you.